And now it's time for Project Economy, and every Friday we talk to the folks from the University of Hawaii's Economic Research Organization. And this morning joining us now is economics professor Sumner LaCroix to talk about the economy and have we really turned that corner. Good morning, Sumner, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Mahia.
Now, over the last few weeks, we've had little blips of positive economic news. So does that mean we're officially in recovery now?
We're not officially in recovery, but you know, the Federal Reserve this week, and I think it was somewhat big news. On Wednesday, they announced that they thought that the economy had turned the corner and that we were now moving into positive economic growth on the U.S. mainland. And they were starting to cut back on some of their emergency lending programs. That's really good news.
And so does the good news translate to good news in Hawaii, or are we still behind? We're
still behind, and we're behind because of two major factors. And the two major factors are the state's fiscal crisis. Okay, we still have $1 billion in spending cuts coming, and that $1 billion in spending cuts is going to be weighing down this economy. And it doesn't matter if they come now or come later, they're going to come at some point. There's a second factor, too, and that's the construction cycle. Is that we're still really not at the bottom of the construction cycle. We're having a very slow construction. I wouldn't even say we're having a construction recovery, just the construction industry is still really hurting, and that's dragging the Hawaii economy down a bit.
And so this fiscal crisis that the state is facing, that's holding us all back in terms of recovery and moving forward?
That is holding us back a bit. You know, I think right now, because of the fact that there hasn't been a cooperative solution between the three major stakeholders, and the three major stakeholders really are the unions, the legislature representing the citizens, and the governor also broadly representing the citizens. These three stakeholders have not been able to reach a cooperative solution. That's creating a lot of uncertainty. And with the uncertainty, an awful lot of people are wondering, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be furloughed? Am I going to have wage cuts? And they're starting to cut back on spending now.
Right.
But the bottom line still is just that there's going to have to be large spending cuts or tax increases or something like that at the state level that's going to inflict some pain on the state economy. And that really hasn't happened yet. There's still that we haven't really figured out exactly how we're going to deal with that $1 billion in spending cuts that's coming up.
And speaking of, you know, cutting back and people worried about losing their jobs, you know, staff members at the University of Hawaii are learning that they could get pink slips as early as September 1st because of additional budget cuts. What's the overall mood, you know, with some of those professors and non-tenured staff members who you're working with?
Well, I think the mood is apprehensive. I think people realize that there may be some salary cuts or furloughs or some layoffs coming up. And on the layoff side, a lot of the staff is tenured. And so I don't think that they're particularly worried about layoffs, at least at this point in time. But there's a large part of the teaching staff that is untenured. And they're subject, according to certain rules, to layoffs.
And this, you know, making it more difficult for the students trying to get their classes if the classes aren't there.
If the classes aren't there, it's going to be more difficult, and enrollment is up, too.
And one last question. Any factors that might be driving Hawaii towards a recovery?
Okay, so in the pipeline, there's $1.2 billion worth of federal stimulus coming, and we really haven't seen that much stimulus in the state yet. I mean, there's been a little bit there. There's been some road construction projects. There's some increased unemployment. Some people have gotten some stimulus checks. That happened in May. But a large part of the stimulus program is still set to be rolled out this fall and early this winter, and that will provide a bit of a counter to the budget cuts that are coming at the state level.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that. Sumner LaCroix, it's always great to talk to you on Fridays, and we'll see someone from your office next week Friday.
Thanks a lot.